Guys, just pulled up to the gym. It's a little bit late. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. Got a little bit of a late start, but it's a beautiful day to crush some legs. So I'm gonna do pretty much like a higher intensity workout. Yesterday was cheat day, so I'm gotta burn a lot of calories today. I did kind of a higher intensity workout like on leg day last week, and I really enjoyed it. Got really sore from it. So I'm gonna do something similar today. So I'm gonna take y'all through that. Gonna finish up this pre-workout and we're gonna kill it. Let's go. All right, y'all, back at it with the commentary. Some of you may be wondering what I'm doing right here. I'm sure a lot of you already know, but for those who don't, this is called foam rolling. It is a form of myofascial release. So I've recently started doing this before all of my leg days. A lot of people do it after. It's great both before and after, but I noticed that it helps me a lot. Just kind of loosen things up, get the muscle primed to go. So what foam rolling, the whole purpose of it is to elongate the muscle. It's to get rid of those knots. So when you train frequently, when you work out, you're breaking down muscle fibers, and those fibers kind of tangle together and form little knots. This clip is sped up, but you can see that sometimes, I go pretty slow, and then sometimes I just completely stop. So what I'm doing is I'm rolling. I roll a couple times to get it warmed up. And then once I find a knot, I just sit there. So like right here, I just sit there for about 15 to almost, I can go up to like 30 seconds until you feel the knot just kind of give way and release. So I will do a complete other video on foam rolling, myofascial release techniques, because it's just an awesome thing. I swear by it. I used to have hip problems with squatting, and since I started doing this before, I haven't had that hip pain at all. So I also do these stretches here to kind of open up my hip girdle as well. So you can see I do a couple with my knee on the floor, and then these last couple I come up and I actually flex my glute and hamstring of the leg that's outstretched, and that causes the hip and the quad to get stretched even more. And then I just kind of do some stretches here for the adductors and kind of groin to press against my elbows here, and do a couple squats to get the knees warmed up a little bit, and then move on into my first warm-up activation exercise. So again, I actually got this technique from Joe Bennett, hypertrophy coach again. This is a single leg quad extension, but I kind of do it a little bit differently. I tried to keep my kneecap, so this is a better angle of it, pointed straight forward. So you're naturally going to want to, your leg is going to want to rotate externally, so towards the outside when you do these leg extensions, because it's in a stronger position. But if you force your knee to stay straight, then your quad muscle on the outside, the vastus lateralis, will have to engage more to keep that kneecap straight. So you're actually working all of the muscles of your quad, not just putting a lot of emphasis on the medialis, the inner part. So this kind of just gets that whole quad fired, ready to go and warm, so that when you're doing your other leg exercises, the entire quad muscle, is being worked. So it's a great activation for the entire quad muscle. So I superset that with a lying leg curl. I don't do anything too fancy here, but I do, you see I come all the way up and squeeze and contract as much as I can at the top, and then let it go slowly. And again, this is, both of these are for activation for me. They do get me warm, but they do enhance that mind-muscle connection, which is something I have a problem with, especially with legs. So I do anything I can to kind of start feeling that burn, so that I can mentally connect with the muscle throughout the rest of the workout. And so here, I don't do anything fancy. I press my hips into the pad so that just my hamstring is working. So this leg workout, as I mentioned before, was a higher intensity. So I actually started with this reverse hack squat. So the machine is meant for you to have your back against the pad, but what I do is I turn around and face the pad and put the little armrest on my shoulders, and this turns it into more of a front squat. So what a front squat does is puts the load or more emphasis on your quads. I did about 5 sets of this. I I started with 1 plate, worked up to 2, this is 3 here, and I tried to stay within that 12 to 15 rep range. And so why I said this was kind of higher intensity is I'm taking shorter rest times and I'm using higher rep ranges, so that I'm trying to kind of work that cardiovascular aspect as well. So I'm getting my heart rate up, I'm sweating, I'm burning more calories. But as you can see here, I'm trying to use good form, control the weight. I'm not doing anything super fast, super crazy. I have a narrow stance, so my feet are about shoulder width apart, a little bit closer. What that does is it puts a little bit more of emphasis on the outer quad that I mentioned before, the vastus lateralis, so it gives you that quad sweep. And the reason I do that is just because that's a little lacking part of the quad. I feel like it gets neglected a lot, so that's why I put my feet close together here, and then I just try to brace against the pad and try to go full range of motion and try to keep the tension on my legs the entire time. So you see that I go up and I don't completely lock out. I have, you know, a little slight bend in my knee to keep the tension on the quad. And I go till, I feel a pretty good burn, and then, I'll stop, rest for a little while. This is actually going to be a drop set. So I did like 4 or 5 sets, and then I went down to 2 plates here on each side and did as many as I could, so like 12 to 15. I think I got 15. And then I racked it and immediately dropped down to 1 plate on each side. And as you'll see, I use a wider stance. So going from the narrow, working the outer quad sweep, when I widen my feet and kind of point my toes at almost a 45-degree angle outward, it's going to allow me to go deeper into the squat, and it's going to allow me to use my glutes and hamstrings more. And then towards the top, it's going to be a little bit more of the inner quad. But mostly when you widen, you're going to be using more of your glute, more of your hamstring. So that's just a different area that I'm working with this stance. So starting off with the feet together, burning out the quads, and then dropping the weight, and once your legs are already kind of fatigued, widening the stance and using a different muscle group to finish off the exercise. So kind of getting a full exercise there for both the quads and the hamstrings and glutes. So after that, I moved immediately into this superset. So started off with a single leg dumbbell lunge. So as you can see, I'm not doing like a walking lunge or anything like that. I'm just focusing on one leg at a time. So I'm using pretty heavy dumbbells for this for me. I think 60 pounds, and this side angle shows it better. I'm not super forward to where my knee is going over my toes, and I'm not backwards to where I'm kind of falling backwards. I'm right in the middle, really focusing on not letting the knee travel over the toes, and then just keeping constant tension again on that leg. And so the second part of the superset is this straight leg deadlift. So what this is going to focus on is the glutes and the hamstrings again. So the lunges was for quad primarily, and then this is going to be for the glutes and the hamstrings. So as you can see, I'm keeping my legs fairly straight. You do want a slight bend in there. You don't want to be completely locked out, but pretty straight, and I'm going straight down, trying to keep the dumbbells as close to my legs as possible. And that's really going to allow you to focus on using your glutes more and getting a good stretch and contraction. So then I went immediately over here and did a seated leg curl. And as you're watching here, I contract all the way and I pause, and then I let it go slowly. So really focusing on getting the pad completely back and under me and pulling through the heels of my feet. So trying to keep my toes pointed, and pulling through the heels allows you to focus on just moving at the knee, which is going to put most of the load on your hamstrings here. And I'm also bracing with my hands against the pad, and I'm bracing my core as well, so that once you're tight up there, it's going to allow you to really focus on the muscle group that you're working. So again, I think like 3 sets, 12 to 15 here with the pause, letting it go slowly and going till pretty much failure. So I can, see I couldn't even get a rep right there. And then supersetting that with a leg extension. This time I'm using both legs. And I'm not completely pausing at the top. I'm kind of getting there, holding for half a second, and then letting it go nice and slow. So what that's doing is really focusing on the eccentric part of the movement, and that's where you're elongating the fibers. That's where you're going to be breaking down most of the fibers. So this side angle, you can really see I go all the way up and then just slowly lower it down for like a 3-4 count. And not using super heavy weight here, a little heavier than I normally would, but I really just wanted to focus on completely burning out this muscle group, the quads here. And I'm letting my toes kind of go outward, externally rotate on this one, just letting the natural movement take over, and then really focusing again on letting it go slow and going till complete failure here. The last thing I did was a superset of this standing calf raise. I did it on the Smith machine here. I know the Smith machine bars a little bit less, but pretty much 275 pounds, 245s, and a 25 on each side. Really have been focusing on quads. Like I said in my previous video with my split, I train calves every other day, pretty much. So, and sometimes I pretty much alternate like a standing and seated movement. So here, just making sure I get the full range of motion, going nice and slow, all the way down, controlling it, stopping at the bottom, and then all the way up, pausing, holding, and letting it go slow again. So that really allows me to kind of get that mind-muscle connection again. You hear me say that a lot. That is so important with every exercise, is to feel it in the correct area. So you see me kind of struggling here, and then I'll go for some partials and just completely fatigue that movement. And then I actually finished off with the barbell squat here. Nothing fancy, just 135. By this time, my legs were completely destroyed. So 135 felt really heavy, and just kind of went nice and slow, controlled, full range of motion, and did for like I think 15 reps, and I just supersetted the calf raises and the squats back and forth. So this whole workout was pretty much reverse order of what I normally do. Normally I start with squats and then kind of go in the other direction and finish off with extensions and stuff like that. This time I kind of reversed the order, and that's a great thing to do if you're trying to mix up your workouts, is just change your order completely. So that's pretty much just gonna sum it up for this workout, guys. This is a really good one. Not too many exercises, nothing too crazy, but higher rep, shorter rest time, and completely reverse the order, and I guarantee that you will feel it. So if you're looking for a change, give this a try. That's going to conclude this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you learned something. Leave questions below, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.